We all have a glass. Like imagine a glass of water, right? We have a vessel, a human physical vessel. We also have a spiritual vessel. You fill that vessel with water or with wisdom or with riches or with whatever, but the vessel can only hold so much, just like a cup. The way to get more riches, the way to get more of what you want, the way to live the life that you truly desire is to give a lot of those riches, the light in a spiritual sense, away. That also is aligning for me in terms of helping with either imposter syndrome or feelings of unworthiness, like I don't belong, who am I, why am I doing this, why would someone listen to me? It's simply taking the light that I've received and allowing other people to experience the same thing. So welcome. This is another episode. I'm really excited today because I think there's a lot to talk about. But for me, top of mind, there's a couple things. One is the Health Optimization Summit this weekend, which I'm really excited about. I know we're going to that and we'll talk more about it next week.
This weekend.
Yes, it's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow?
Yes.
What time?
It's the whole day. It's
Shit.
Saturday and Sunday. It's all day. You don't have to go the whole day, but they have different speakers, like literally from like 8 to 5 or 8 to 6. There's some really cool speakers, like at 10, Gary Brecka's talking for like an hour. Definitely need to see that. There's a few other really interesting speakers talking about like hyperbaric oxygen chambers and how that can help your recovery. There's different types of modalities. There's like ancient healing kind of techniques that are there. There's some folks talking about like quantum support and I don't know, just a bunch of things I want to learn about, and it's really exciting. So yeah, that's this weekend. It's Saturday, Sunday. There's a few Instagram famous people and just a lot of people in the industry that know what they're talking about, from like biohacking to personal development to other different healing modalities. So that's really fun. And then the other thing I think would be interesting to talk about today would be Passover, the holiday that's starting now for Jews around the world, and how we're entering that here just individually and just in America and as two Jews here in Texas, and what it means to you, what it means to us. And I think that's going to be a really key topic for us, especially as the war's kind of restarted and hopefully there's some hostage deals soon. I just know, of course, like this is the first, well, technically, is it this? Yeah, so it'll be the second Passover post October 7. There's a really emotional Instagram story from the IDF that I posted or reposted, just really powerful. And is of course female based. That's one of my favorite things about Israel and the IDF. Just it's very equal. It's very equal. And I just love that there's some dance between like the masculine and feminine energy when you see like a woman in a uniform, right? There's some interwoven thing there because they're just holding both of those energies in the same time. It's just like, it's very powerful to see that. And
It's
Israel,
really hot.
yes, it's attractive on a few different levels. But like the other thing is for Israel, just such a leader in the feminine space. Like I was talking to a friend today, like Israel's one of the very few countries that had a woman leader, like prime minister. Golda Meir was the leader for Israel, the prime minister. And it was like 1969 or it was like end of 60s to the early 70s, 4 or 5 years. So it's just that kind of hit home this morning, especially as we celebrate, the holiday. Yeah, I came across, if we want to get spiritual about it too, had a really cool learning for me because I know the word, and we learned this in school, and I knew this growing up, but the word in Hebrew for Egypt as we celebrate Passover. So the story of Passover, really quickly, is a reminder of the Jews being slaves in Egypt. The Israelites, I guess at that point, had a home like in the Middle East, and they were kind of moving around. And the biblical story is, I think, relatively accurate. And I think it was Solomon. I might get these backwards. Solomon or Saul, one of the kings that had led us to, I have to get this correct, so don't quote me. It's the first, I believe it's King Saul, that led us to Egypt. And then we became, unfortunately, slaves in Egypt for about 400 years. I think it was a pretty significant amount of time. And the story of Moses, like the Prince of Egypt, if anyone's seen that movie, that's been popularized. So that story is getting us out of Egypt, the Exodus. That's the story in the Bible, and that's what's portrayed in the movie. Escaping Egypt as slaves and finding the promised land after 40 years in the desert, getting into Canaan, which is present day Israel. So that's the story. And we spend Passover commemorating that suffering and the escape of Egypt and no longer being slaves. So what I came across from like a spiritual perspective, which was really interesting, is the word Mitzrayim in Hebrew for Egypt, like also means distress or despair. And And there's a few different meanings because one is like it's called a strait, like Strait. So the strait, and I think it meant the reason they called Egypt that was because it was a way to separate the river, the Nile, in Egypt. And the other meaning of Mitzrayim means like at despair or distraught, and that stemmed from the biblical history of suffering, the suffering that was endured in Egypt. It's really neat if you approach this from like a spiritual perspective and go into Passover thinking this is an opportunity for me to escape or to get out of the distress, despair, dis-ease that I've been in and find a way to heal and to move forward and to live a life that I desire. Like when I think of being a slave, I feel like living a life that you truly don't desire, that you're not intentional about, where it's more passive, you're more of like an extra in your own movie. And instead moving more to a powerful role, an ownership role, a main character type of role, and saying, hey, I want to be very intentional about the life I want to live. So this Passover, at least for me, I'm going to be very intentional about keeping that in mind and trying to move from dis-ease to ease in all areas of my life. So I'm really excited about that. I know we kind of just like jumped right into it. Yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts on the Health Optimization Summit that's coming this weekend, which you know all about and you know the exact times and days, and Passover and anything else that's kind of on your mind.
Yeah, thank you for that, the Egypt conversation. Regarding the health summit, I'm looking forward to it. It's not something that naturally calls me, all of the biohacking stuff, but I am turning 34 in a year. Like I'm 33, so I'm open. I want to be open to it and kind of get more into your perspectives because I know you're really into it. So I'm excited about it, looking forward. And then for the Egypt conversation, man, it's like, well, it's how we live our lives, right? Like from struggle to riches or something like that. It's very impactful. It's the story that we've been like every year in Passover, we basically read the legend, right? It's a legend. It's a story about struggle. And so every family dinner, every Passover, we just basically read it to remind our people the struggles we've been through and what we were able to overcome. And I think it's beautiful. And yeah, I mean, we were in the desert for 40 years. Talk about struggle. But we stayed united as the Jewish people, and we eventually made it. So it's a beautiful story.
Yeah, that it's akin to when, you were telling me, hey, I really want you to come to this intimacy men and women's workshop. And I'm like, I don't know about this. Let's see how this goes. I'm like, what are you guys doing? You're like, oh, nothing crazy. Just like staring at each other for an hour and a half. I'm like, okay, cool. Sounds interesting. Yeah, that's how I feel about this, right? Like you feel like that would help gain a sense of trust, intimacy, and just good practice, like exposure, learning new things. And we could bring that here and share that with people. Like I really had that big realization recently. It's sort of like there's a part of me, and I think what happens for a lot of people, and this is in my mind why and when imposter syndrome comes up, is because we feel like we don't know enough and like we don't have enough to share. And ironically, out of all the people I've listened to and all the learning I've done, all the reading and just being around the earth, we're kind of the same age, I'm a little younger, but been around the block too. And like my main takeaway is that everyone is simply just teaching what they know. That's all everyone's doing. It's a cycle of life. You learn, you teach, you learn, you teach. Anything that you're teaching, people already know. There's already knowledge available on the earth. You're just simply gathering it and for lack of a better term, spitting it out, cycling it through in another form, in your own unique form. So it's just interesting because I think I've been dealing with imposter syndrome recently, and I just had this kind of like epiphany, a realization. I'm like, any of these people speaking this weekend, Gary Brecka included, all these people I look up to, they are simply teaching something to me and to other people, knowledge that already exists in the world. They're just taking it and giving it to a new audience. That for me has really helped with my fear, my imposter syndrome. Like, if I put something out there, I'm trying to teach someone, like, who am I and why am I doing this? Why would they listen to me? And the really cool feeling is just like, well, I'm just taking knowledge that's out in the universe and giving it to someone, just like someone did that for me. That's all I'm doing. I'm doing what someone else did for me. I'm doing it for other people. Why can't I do that? Of course I can do that. So that was a really neat revelation for me. I think it was this morning or yesterday. I can't remember exactly when that happened. I feel like the past couple of days have been a blur. But for this weekend, I hope that that's just knowledge that will help you, or just you can keep in your mind for you personally, but also for people. We can get together and talk about some things that we've learned. So I think that's exciting. And that's all life really is. You take what you've learned, your experience, your wisdom, your knowledge, and you share it. It really, for me, connects to the Kabbalistic principle, which is like if someone's expecting more quote unquote light, more riches, more earthly riches, and they're in this manifest game and they want to live a life they desire and they want these things to come to them. There's a Kabbalistic principle that like we all have a glass, like imagine a glass of water, right? We have a vessel, a human physical vessel. We also have a spiritual vessel. You fill that vessel with water or with wisdom or with riches or with whatever, but the vessel can only hold so much, just like a cup. The way to get more riches, the way to get more of what you want, the way to live the life that you truly desire is to give a lot of those riches, the light in a spiritual sense, away. That also is aligning for me in terms of helping with either imposter syndrome or feelings of unworthiness, like I don't belong, who am I, why am I doing this, why would someone listen to me? It's simply taking the light that I've received and allowing other people to experience the same thing. And if you view it in that sense, not only are you helping to fill other people's cup, right, which feels amazing. I mean, that's the goal of it. But you're also reducing from your own cup so that you can allow more light and more wisdom and other things to come through. So it's like, it's the cycle of life. It's the give and take. It's the breathing. It's the oxygen. You can take in a breath, but at some point you have to release it. And it's the in and out. And there's so many like connections to this in the 3D world. Like, for example, like money, currency, like there's a reason we call it currency, current, it flows like water. There's so many correlators there. But yeah, I know I went on a tangent. So those are just top of mind things.
No, you're good, you're good.
Yeah.
I like what you said about imposter syndrome. I think for anyone dealing with imposter syndrome, it's a lot like that. Like you feel like, okay, the knowledge is out there. What can I add here? But what you add is you, is what makes you special. For example, if I talk from my hardships or my personal experience, then I can actually become that expert, right? Because I went through it. I know what I'm talking about. I walk the walk. I talk the talk. I love what you said. It really does connect.
Just like anything else, right? So you watch a TV show, or even let's just say you're on Instagram and you're scrolling on Instagram and you have all these people that will come up on your feed. You'll see someone, you're like, oh, this doesn't speak to me. Someone else, oh, this speaks to me. It's like, there's also not really much logic behind that. You just have a feeling, you just connect to this person. So you'd rather tune into their station. If you're doing that, the logic is, well, why wouldn't that work for someone who's scrolling and seeing you? Like you will also have your people and your frequency and people tuning into you for whatever reasons. Maybe they connect to your story. Maybe they like how you look. We don't know. Those things are beyond us. Those things are meant for someone, our higher selves. But believing that is true because it's also a universal law, I think is just like extremely helpful, extremely beneficial for our lives. It allows us to be our best selves. It allows us to be who we really are, which is creators. Anything else is blocking us from creating. My goal is to unblock what's holding us back from creating.
I love that. Very inspiring.
Cool. What else do you love? Let's talk about other things you love.
Why?
I don't know. Tell us anything about the week, anything that came up, good things that you think it would help people, or people would like to hear about, or you'd like to share. Is this something on your chest, on your mind? Do you want to share with us?
You wanted to talk a little bit about if it hurts your peace, something like that.
Yeah, it's I guess this quote that I post on Substack, which by the way, like Substack's become an amazing platform. I had never heard about it. It is so cool. It's just like a new age version of social media, which is you can post videos and stuff there. But it's much more like article writing heavy. Which I love because I consider myself, writing is one of my most preferred formats of creativity, and I love poetry. So for me to get my poems out there and just to connect with other poets, and it's been a lot of fun. So one of the notes I posted there recently was, if it costs you your peace, it's not worth it. Something like that. Like it's not worth it if it costs you your peace of mind. Is the idea. Yeah, I just think that's so valuable. I think there's so many things that we do in life, mostly in our teens and 20s, where we think, oh, this will get me ahead, or this will make me feel good, or this will get me the things that I want. When later on in life, we find out that's actually not what we really wanted. And we need to figure out who we really are. And we realize we had a mask on for so much of our life. That's a whole separate story. But I think we do things in a relatively inauthentic way to try to get ahead, to try to like win the game. And meanwhile, recognizing that like the journey along the way, if it's extremely stressful and if you feel bad about it, if you don't enjoy it, if you're not having a good time, if it's not for you, if it's not aligned for you, then it's not worth it. It's not worth it because it'll get you to a place that you don't ultimately really want to go. And the whole time getting there will be really hard. And by the way, maybe when you get there, something will happen, something bad will happen that will prove that you weren't even meant to be here in the first place. Jay Shetty had a really cool quote, I think come out today or yesterday on his podcast, or at least he posted it, which is like, keep knocking on doors. Like your goal is to keep knocking on doors, and the ones that open for you means those are the ones you're supposed to go through. I think sometimes we get so caught up in knocking on a door that we want to open. Like we create a vision in our mind. We create a story based on a past identity, based on a potential future identity. And we say, I want to open this door. And we will do whatever it takes to open that door. We get a tool, it's locked. We get a toolbox. We try to, that's not working. We start hammering it. Like, that's not working. We ask friends to, what I mean? You bring in all these people. So the analogy is they're like, starting a business or buying something, selling, whatever it is, just spending a lot of time, energy, resources on something where the door won't open. In fact, if you realize that even if you got that door open, that it wasn't meant for you, like your soul wasn't meant to hold that. I think just appreciating the fact that there is a destiny that your soul is ultimately trying to fulfill. There are lessons, there are experiences that your soul is trying to experience. And the universe will correct you if you get that quote unquote wrong, or if you try to open a door that's not meant for you, which is fine. We have to learn that lesson to some degree, but I think to try to learn that in a kind of a softer way is just follow your intuition and your guide into realizing what door is meant to open for you. And that's not to say that like difficult things won't happen in your life. That's not meant to say if you run into an obstacle, you give up or, oh, clearly this isn't meant for you. It's more of, those things we do in life where something's like really difficult, but it doesn't feel difficult. You just have you have a good energy. You could be in a meeting for 2-3 hours on something you really care about, you really love, you really passionate. You get out of that and it's almost like you have more energy. You're just like excited. You like want to get the thing done. On the flip side is you can be in a different meeting for 2-3 hours and it has nothing to do with what you want and you're not passionate about it at all. And you leave it, you're just drained and you're stressed and you're like, you want to go to bed. It's like you're just down. So you're the same 3-hour slot, but you felt totally different about it. It's not that these things won't require effort. It's not that there won't be obstacles, there won't be challenges, but you'll feel differently about it. And so following that feeling, I think, is the key. One last thing. I know I'm talking a lot. Yeah. David Guillen, I think one of my mentors for Kabbalah, he posts a lot as well. I think he was married to her name, I think Mary Ruth. Have you heard of that company? Mary Ruth's Organics. Yeah, it's a large company, and he, I believe, helped her build it to some degree. But they were married for a while. I think they've got a few kids together, and they divorced or they separated. And I think he's like dating now. And he had a really cool take on dating someone from a spiritual perspective. And it's just this feeling of when you see someone on the app, or let's say you go on a date with someone and you're like very attracted to them, or you are stuck in sort of the idea of them, the idea of the future of them, and you build up this fantasy or this future casting that we do. And then we start taking actions based on those things. We start over delivering, right? Make big moves. We drive a long distance to see this person, or we deliver this big present, or we do this grand gesture to try to create this thing. From the spiritual perspective, it goes back to the doors opening concept with what Jay Shetty was talking about. So, we could be trying to open this door that's not necessarily meant for us. We could be trying to be with this person and create something, even though our soul wasn't meant to be with them for a long time. We're just meant to have it show up in our movie or be in our experience for a relatively shorter time. So it's more of like, this goes back to the classic, I think, motto of like going with the flow and aligning with the universe and seeing what comes your way, and trusting your feelings and your gut intuition based on sort of how and who to move forward with. So the combination of the spiritual perspective from David and Kabbalah mixed with like the realistic dating approach with Jay Shetty and opening doors and trusting the universe, it really hit home for me this week.
So for me, an example of having to choose between something that is really disturbing my peace, but on the other hand, there is something I'm gaining out of it. I can say that with certain people, certain relationships, I often find myself in this crossroads where, I am not peaceful. Like, this is disturbing my peace. This person is mistreating me, or I'm not getting what it is that I want. But on the other hand of that, there are things that I am getting, which is connection to some degree, or not feeling alone, or it can be really anything. I can even take it to a business place where I have this client that's paying me a lot of money. But on the other hand, any type of like communication with this person, any type of anything is just really taking a lot of my energy. And it's like, okay, so I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, he's paying me a few $1,000s a month, which I really need. But on the other hand, he's making my life a living hell. Like just dealing with this person, the communication is not really good. So then I kind of, it's a crossroad, and then I kind of weigh it, if I can be at peace because I really need this money for the next, let's say 2 or 3 months, then I'm gonna keep this client and I'm gonna look at, okay, why am I getting so triggered with this communication, and maybe how can I improve this communication in a way where it's gonna be more pleasant for me to work with. But if this client is asking me to do things I don't want to do and is asking me to cross lines or just talks to me really nasty, not in a nice way, and it's just really affecting me and it's too much, then my highest value would be the inner peace, and I would just stop working with this client with the belief that when you let things go that are not for you, the universe will provide what is for you. So it's really a lot about just kind of like zooming out and looking at it and weighing it, right? And when we weigh things out, we should look at the values, our value system, like what is important for me right now? Is it peace? Because sometimes, you want peace, but that's not top value for you for that specific period of time. So if it's peace, then I would say goodbye to the client. But if it's to get financially healthy, then I would keep the client because it aligns with my higher value right now, which is financial stability.
No, it's a really good point. I think it applies to men and women in dating and also like business relationships. I think it's interesting when you're dating someone because, there's always going to be this feeling of maybe there's a couple things I do like, maybe there's a couple things I don't like, and you have to kind of weigh that and see, does it align with my values? Is this really what I want? And is this a good compatible and good chemistry just in general? And then you also have to weigh that with the fact that, well, let's say I had a list or I had all these things, very rarely is it 100%, or there is some compromise or some flexibility that's required, right? It's not necessarily giving up on things that you desire, but understanding that there's a core set of values, there's a core set of inflexible, these are things that I need in a relationship. And there's also another set of maybe more flexible, more compromisable traits that you're willing to kind of part ways with. So you have to ask yourself that honest question is like, am I doing this because I'm getting a couple that I really want? And is this relationship or situation taking me away from potentially finding another more compatible, better chemistry kind of connection? Or does this fulfill enough of what I need now? And not necessarily looking at it from like, does this fulfill me now? It's sort of, am I growing? Is this good for me? I think that's very healthy question to ask instead of like, is this checking all my boxes? Right? Or does this fulfill me in that sense? It's more, am I learning? Am I growing? Am I changing in the way that I really desire? And am I doing that for the other person too? I think like for me, an example that came out very similar to you in terms of costing me my peace. I help folks like run some Airbnbs and some local listings. And I had a client, I've worked with him for a little while and kind of help them start, run his whole listing, create everything kind of from the ground up, and lives about an hour and a half outside the city. So it's not the easiest place to get to. And for a while it was going great. I had my cleaning team help him. We just kind of coordinated all the things for him. And unfortunately, like his standards or his expectations were just different than what we had. And mind you, we've gotten like 5-star reviews. We've had great feedback from customers. There's never been an issue. But he and his wife just had different feel for how the place was supposed to look or be cleaned or so on and so forth. So it's making pretty good money from that situation, and just kind of realized over amount of time, like the constant feedback, the feeling like it wasn't good enough, just hearing that kind of over and over. And it felt like no matter what me or the rest of the team did, it wasn't good enough. I said, listen, I with all due respect, like appreciate the business we've built together and all the things we've done, but at this point, like we just don't see eye to eye, and I'm gonna have to respectfully remove myself. So that's a situation where saying, hey, giving up the potential for more money and income for the peace of mind, it's just like a judgment call. It's just like, it's a variable like anything else, right? So finance is a variable, peace of mind is a variable, speed, flexibility, convenience, relationship quality. I mean, all these things in life are health and wellness. They're all variables that we try to keep afloat. And sometimes you have to find, I think, when that piece variable, you've laxed on that. And yeah, that's an example for me that came up recently.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. And I really think looking at your top values specifically in that point where it comes up, like, because our values can change with time and can kind of like rearrange themselves. So just making sure that you are aligned with your values at that specific time. And what I also like is kind of asking yourself, am I going against my interest? Like, am I betraying myself in some sort of way? Or would the young me or future me would be proud of what I'm doing right now, which I really like.
Yeah, I think I think what I'm facing in my life right now is just an interesting like revitalization of some earlier challenges. I think what's interesting is we enter this spiral, right? So it's like think of like life as a game, and sometimes it feels like a circle. Like sometimes it feels like you haven't really progressed, you haven't moved anywhere, and then realizing like if you're looking at it like flat, if you're parallel to the table and there's a circle on the table, you're like, what? This is like, okay, you're not moving or whatever. But if you like take another view and you realize like, oh, this is growing and this is actually like it's a spiral, not a circle. I think it just changes your perspective on it. And I think the goal is like as we grow and as we evolve spiritually, but also biologically, we have very similar challenges, but they look different. They're like a different level. Right? If you play a video game, it's like you did something at level 2, it looked one way and it was relatively easier than like level 5, level 6. Now level 5, level 6 didn't look too much different. You still have the same graphics, you have the same like Mario, you still have the same steps, you're still doing the same thing, kind of. It's just more advanced and it looks a little different. Maybe the colors are a bit different, maybe there's different characters now, but the goal is the same. Here to here, get up the steps, hit the flag, right? For people that know the Mario game. So yeah, I just found that interesting because I find myself in that spiral with these challenges with new people and new environments. Examples like the Airbnb one I just gave you, but like handling it differently. That's the goal, right? Like to win the game, to learn your lesson, to get past that level is not necessarily to be like in a different place. It's to be in the same place, handle it differently. It's to be in the same place and see it with a new perspective. It's to be in the same place and act and think and feel in a different way. And by doing that, you literally become a different person. If you're in the same place, you think, feel, and act a different way, that's a new you. You're like recreating your identity as you go. And it's moment to moment. It's not like, on one day you're here and on the next day or a week later you're here. It's a continuum and it's moment to moment. And it's a constant awareness of like, oh, how am I viewing this? How am I looking at this? How am I thinking about this? How am I feeling about this? Now, what action am I taking? And so if you take the same thoughts, you take the same feelings, you take the same actions, you're the same person, you're on the same level, you're not progressing. And that fact, you're spiraling some way. You're probably spiraling backwards, which is okay. But that's the law of the universe. Law in the universe, either you're expanding or you're contracting. There's no standstill. It's constant movement. Everything is always moving. So not necessarily to be hard on yourself, but just to realize, okay, I have a choice. I have an option. I can choose. I can either choose to go this way or I can choose to go this way. The only thing you can't do is not choose. Even by saying I'm not choosing, you're choosing. Because by not choosing, you're choosing to contract and to go backwards, which you're not meant to do that. You're meant to evolve. You're meant to choose to go forward. So I think it's just a good reminder this week. And it's not easy. Like that's the thing. We go back to this and we have that podcast with Neo coming out this week, I guess. People will probably have already heard this, but that's the part that takes courage, because to be a new, different you, it requires change. And that's what people are most afraid of. That's why we take our past and we continue to replicate our past, because we know our past. It's familiar. It's the unknown that we have to be willing to step into. So whatever way for you that works best to create the courage that you need to choose a new thought, a new feeling, a new action, power to you. Like we've talked about a lot of them. We'll continue talking about a lot of them. We're going to Health Optimization Summit where maybe they help you get into a state of mind, a state of body that will help you make with this courage to make those decisions. It doesn't really matter. I don't think it really matters what you do, as long as you're able to get yourself to a point of having the courage to say, I want to expand and grow and like complete this level, not from like just a checkbox perspective, but to realize that if you develop yourself and you become the best version of yourself, then everyone around you is going to benefit. Your ancestry is going to benefit. The future you will benefit. Everything, the world benefits.
Yeah, and what I want to say about it I'm going to take it to a different subject, but it's related, is that when I got out of that narcissistic abusive relationship, I did a lot of work on myself, and I got to a point where I understood my values, right? Like, I want to find a serious relationship with someone that's not not abuser. Like, I want to find a serious relationship, and I want to really grow in that area of choosing better, and also not entertaining situationships where I lose myself and I get hurt. And I realized that to do that, I need to act differently, right? So literally not entertain situations like that. And I was seeing someone, and I realized that once again, I'm in a situation like that. It started really like, I felt like there's more. I was afraid of doing the talk. And then when I eventually had that conversation with that person, it was really clear that they're not, it's not going to become a relationship. They're not going to stop talking to other people. So I had a choice, and I chose to end it. And it was the hardest. At the time, it felt like the hardest choice ever, because I really had feelings for this person. And then after that, like after doing this incredibly difficult choice, I was in a place of, I changed. I'm a new person. Like, oh my God, like I'm strong, I'm this, I'm that. And it was really empowering for me. But then again, the universe sent me into more situations like that. So sometimes we find ourselves in the same exact loop, let's call it. And I think there's two possible reasons. One is to nail it down and be in a place, oh yeah, that's not for me, or I'm not gonna do it, it's done, it's dead. Like some sort of a test from the universe, right? Like the universe will put you in the same spot again to see if you actually changed, or if you learned the lesson. And the second part of it is that you can actually be facing the same situation, literally just to be the new you in it, like to observe yourself in that situation and see if you actually grew, right? Or become that observer we talked about, that can literally, instead of being sucked in the situation and it will be your norm because you're used to the situation, all of a sudden you can look at yourself acting in the situation and be like, okay, no, that doesn't feel right. Or it feels great. Now that I'm in this, I have control because I'm evolved. I'm different. So I can actually become different and not be pulled by all these different parts of me. So what I'm trying to say is, one, growth takes time and it's not linear. It is a spiral, and sometimes we go backwards, but that can be maybe because you are a different person and now you're going to show up in a better way, or because the universe is just trying to be like, have you learned? Do you see the lesson? Can you be different this time? So I was sure that, I was in my power and I ended that situationship. I was sure that from now on, I will get what I want because I changed. And the answer is no. So I was sure that breaking this pattern one time will make that all of that change for me. But no, it's continuous work, and there's a lot more tests, right? I would be faced with more guys that are not interested in a relationship because either I need to learn something or I need to just drill it down. Like, no matter how good looking this person is, no matter what they're offering me, no matter the terms or let's say the perks, if it's not what I want, I need to stand strong in my decision.
Oh, that's really powerful. Yeah, I like how you said that there's like different options. Either you run into something and you realize it's not meant for you, or you also realize that you're supposed to be here as a new version of you. I'm curious on your end, like is there a way that you personally are able to distinguish that, or that people can think about how to say, I know now that I've quote unquote progressed or spiraled or leveled up, that this isn't for me, versus I am now here. Let me be the new version of myself here and kind of change it from that perspective. Maybe this is meant for me, but it's meant for the new version of me. Is there a way that you're able and have figured out yet how to distinguish between those two?
Yeah, so the best thing that I can say is you need to go through it. You need to be there in that situation. And if you're finding yourself, you're once again in that situation, you should probably look inside and make and see what you're feeling and how, let's say, reliable it is, aligned with your true self to be there. Like, let's say this man is the man of my dreams. I can feel it, right? That can be a part of you that's just like starving, or it could be the actual feeling, like the actual coming from what's aligned for you. And time. So time, look inside, see how you feel, and give it time. Because 2 months into it, you can be like, fuck no, this person is really not for me. And then you can actually look back and be like, okay, why did I think he is? And work with that. And that's the reason you've been put there. to look at it, to look at the dynamic of within you. Why did I think he's my soulmate, for example, right? And then learn from that. So whichever way you choose to go, if you give it time, it will develop and you will know your truth. Because as people that we do a lot of like inner inquiries and we zoom out and we look at the dynamics within our mind, then it's gonna come up and you're gonna see it because you see yourself. So give it time. That's one part of it, will be to give it time and really look inside and how you feel in the dynamic. And the second thing is always, am I betraying myself right now? For example, that client example that I had, right? I can go into this and say, okay, it's a lot of money. But once again, this client is really not vibing with me. I can already see there's going to be so many problems in this dynamic. So my choice would be, do I take this client or not? And I can choose to take this client thinking it will be different, it will explode in my face again, and be like, okay, that's the last time I'm doing it, even if I did it twice more before, right? Okay, why did I go for it? I had a feeling that it's not the right type of client. And then when I go into it, I can see, okay, because I am still operating from a place that I need money. So what can I do now that I see? Like, this will be the last time this happens. And the other way I can approach it is take that client, but be very, very clear about my boundaries and how I work, right? So have to set expectations and be like, listen, I have to tell you that the way we work, we do not go against Amazon TOS, for example, terms of service. We don't do any black hat. We don't do anything under the table that can risk the account. And I noticed when we talked, you told me you want to try to fake reviews, for example. And I just want to let you know right now, if I'm taking you as a client, we're not doing that. So literally step into your power and bring better boundaries. And to be honest, I see it happening in my business now. I have a lot of new clients and I'm very clear. Like, I put people in their place. I would put the boundaries. I would communicate right away what I can and cannot deliver. And honestly, it helps. So there is a few choices. One of them would be, I will re-enter this situation with not my ideal client, but I will educate them, or at least I will bring into it my boundaries in a better way. I will be different. I will not let them pull me around for money, right? And my mindset would be, okay, I don't need their money if they're not my ideal client. So yeah, that's what I have. So I think either way you go into it, either way you choose, eventually it will align with you.
That was really powerful because I think for me, what that's saying is that it's not about the experience, it's not about the actual thing. It's about how you're approaching that experience and which version of you is coming out. But it has very little to do with, are you going to do it? Are you not going to do it? But either way, it's about stepping into your power. If you are going to do it, you've set your boundaries and you're very intentional. But if you're not going to do it, stand also in your power. Don't feel guilty, but say, hey, I'm removing this because it's not serving a value of mine right now. And be proud of that and realize that's not a door meant for you to open at this point. It's simply how we see it. It's all about how we see it and how we give meaning to it and the perception we give it. Either way, you take it, you don't take it. It could be serving you in the best way. That's my first big takeaway. And then the other thing that you said about how do you know if something's for you, give it time. I agree with that. I'd also like to add that, and this is, you challenged me on this the other day, which I think was really powerful. We were talking about a decision I was trying to make or a position I was trying to figure out in my life. And you were asking me this new trademark question, which I love between us, which is like, who's sitting in the seat of consciousness? Like, who's sitting at the head of the table? And so I love the idea of figuring out if something's for you, give it time. But also the reason you're giving it time is because you want your highest self to be making the decisions. So the reason you give it time is because you want to be aware who's making the call here, who's thinking the thing, who's feeling this feeling, is it me? Is it the rebellious part of me? Is it the part of me that feels unworthy? It's a part of me that feels abandoned. It's a part of me that feels rejected. Like, there's all these parts of us. So if you are connected to your higher self, you're calm, compassionate, loving, curious, the 8 C words, if you're connected to that part of you and you know that the majority of the time, 90-something%, I don't know, you don't have to give a percent to it, but if that's you running the show for a significant amount of time, you've got your decision. But it can't be like a snippet in time, be like, oh, this is how I feel. You need to give it time because you need to understand who's running the show. That's the other asterisk I'll put is give it time, be aware of who's making the calls, who's sitting at the head of the table. And then if you can keep moment by moment by moment, get your highest self back to the head of the table and make decisions and feelings and create thoughts and actions from there, then that's winning. That's progress. That's success.
Yeah, and also if you're noticing that some other part of you is up and that's the part of you that's managing the scene, like out of scarcity for money, for example, then it's like, okay, it's not just about kicking that part of you out of the seat of consciousness. It's about really going in there and understanding, okay, why is this happening right now? Why am I being pulled in this very strong way? It feels like it's overtaking me. So what's creating this fear and giving it love and compassion and basically attending to all of these different parts of you because they all have a voice, they all have a need, and there's a very good reason why they're, let's say, warning you or pulling you, and it's super important to be aware. And I think that those are the types of challenges we rise to. Like, for example, me taking a client, thinking it can be different if I'm different, and then really being hyper focused on that and seeing, okay, I have a part that's getting triggered right now because this person is not listening to me. They don't see me as authority. They don't really take my advice, and they're looking outside of this dynamic to find a solution. And that triggers me because it triggers my sense of worthlessness. Maybe I'm not valuable to this person. And then it's like either I talk to them about it in a very professional yet open way, open heart, or I just understand, okay, this person does not see me as authority. So I don't want to be in a place where I'm not seen like as of what I am. And that's totally theirs. And that's okay. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, it's a really good point. It's like a part of you screaming. It's like, there's a child screaming in the car or at home. They're hungry. I want food. I want food. You don't shut them out and put them in a cage or, like give them a timeout in a room. You're like, okay, what do you need? You need, okay, and then let me help you. And that's the idea. So I think that's beautiful.